So I just finished a video talking about all the books I'm going to read this upcoming July. Let's talk about all the books that I read in June, shall we? Let's do a wrap up. Sounds good to me. This is Readworthy. My name is Kendra. Welcome or welcome back, whichever works for you. I've got lots of books to talk about in this video. I've been told that I'm supposed to make it brief and sweet and easy. So we'll see how I do. I'm sure I'm going to fail because there are 15 books that I read in the month of June, and six of those were I read physically. 3 of them I read through ebook, and the other 6 I did Audible. Ready to discuss. I got my little cup of drink here to get myself, plenty of time to discuss books with you. So this is not in any kind of order of what I liked the most or highly rated or low rated or any of that stuff. Okay. The very first one that I read and finished for the month of June is called The Girl with All the Gifts. I was lent this book, and then I'm part of a Goodreads reading challenge for the year, and the month of June you're supposed to read a book with the word all in the title, and that is this one. So this is the book I chose. That way I can not only give it back to the person that gave it to me to read, but also so I can hit that little prompt. We all know how I feel about goals. I had seriously no clue what this book was about when I picked it up. All I knew is someone gave it to me, thought I would like it to read it, and that it had the word all in it. And so I was like, okay, so let's go ahead and get this book taken care of. The person who lent me this book is a thriller reader, so I just assumed it was a thriller book. This is about a little girl. Her name is Melanie, and in the beginning of the book, she is pretty much waiting in her cell for a sergeant to come get her out to take her to a classroom so that she could be taught by a teacher that she really truly adores. And then it kind of turns into sort of like a zombie book. I can't tell you too much. It's not exactly a zombie book. I wouldn't say it's not like The Walking Dead or anything like that, but it is very thrilling. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it. I really liked Melanie. I thought she was cute and badass all at once, especially for a kid. I liked the teacher in it. I thought that her connection and relationship that she had, because Melanie's not the only child, but the connection and the relationship that the teacher had, I love that. I loved reading it. I even liked the sergeant in the end, so there's that too. Just know that I enjoyed it. Okay. The next one was for a book club pick that I wanted to be able to watch the live video of on Gabby Reads. It was her book club that she has made. It's called The Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. So there's that for you. This is a brand new Jennifer McMahon book. I have read one of hers, The Invited. I read that book of hers and I liked it. And this one I ended up giving this book a 3, but it was like a 3.5. So the reason I gave this book like a 3.5 and not just yet a 4 is because I'm not eager to be like, hey, I need you to read this book, or hey, you, go read this book. This one's a good one. And I feel like if you're going to give a book a 4 or a 5 star, then you better want to really tell at least one person that hey, you need to go read this book because it's good. It's good. It's just not something that I want to gush about. It's got, just like all of our other books, there is a past and a present. And in the past, it's got these 3 kids. 2 of the kids, it's their grandmother, and then she brings in this other little girl, and she's pretty much tells the other 2 kids, hey, I need your help. She's gone through a lot. So if you could just start, and the little girl is not, the one that she brings in is not talking. And so she's like, I need you to start like trying to get her to open up, please. It's a little boy and a little girl that has the grandmother who lives there in the beginning, and they are really obsessed with monsters. And so they they have like a little book called the Book of Monsters, and so they write about monsters and like what to expect and how to kill them or how to get away or how to survive, what have you. And they bring in this other little girl to be a part of that. And then the present day is a woman. She is trying to find her sister, who she believes is a monster doing awful things. And so she goes to a town that she knows that she's there, and she's trying to pretty much find her and, you know, help her in some way, because people are dying. It's very good, and like I said, it kind of, if you want a reference on something, Stranger Things from Netflix, it's a lot, especially the past, is a lot like that. The 11 character from Stranger Things, you know, it's kind of like that little girl who comes in and is trying to get back into society, kind of a situation. So it is good. It's good. I just wanted more. I really enjoyed The Invited, so that's kind of why I was wanting more, I guess you could say. So the next book we're going to talk about is We Are Not Free by Tracy Chee, and this is a book that is set in the time right after Pearl Harbor and World War II, and it's California, and it's about the Asians who had to go through the whole camp situation, who were taken away from their homes and put into camps because, God forbid, they, you know, were Asian. They weren't actually even from Japan. They were born here in the United States, but, you know, it's not a memoir or anything like that. It's still a fiction book. It's historical fiction. I gave this book technically a 3.5, but I did round it up to a 4 on Goodreads, and I rounded this one up to a 4 because there are some hard-hitting chapters in here, and they are very well told. The thing is that when I went into this book, I wasn't expecting, each chapter is from a different point of view of someone who's in one of the camps, and they never go back to someone else until the very, very end. The last chapter is kind of like all the characters grouped up together. And the thing is, it kind of reminded me of like, you know, those books where it's combination of a lot of short stories. I don't pick up those books. When I pick up a book, I want it to be the same story from beginning to end, and that's like the same concept, okay, the same thing. The same characters, and in this, the characters are all kind of there in each chapter, but it's different. It really is a different story from each person because everyone has a different point of view, right? It still was like reading a whole new book in each chapter, and I'm just not a big fan of that, and that's why I gave it a 3.5 and not technically a 4, but I bumped it up to a 4 because the chapter called The Company of Kings, which is closer to the end of the book, that was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It's from a point of view. He is a character who was in a camp and decided to sign up and be part of the army, and it's him in war. And so that was really, really interesting, and I really enjoyed that chapter, and I wanted more of that before him going to war. Like, that would have been great. There was like I said, the very first chapter, the first 2 chapters, those 2 characters, I wanted more from them. It almost felt like it was a book that, you know, finishes way too early, and you're like, I want more. Why didn't you give me more? And there's like, it's not like a trilogy or anything. It's just like, it's a standalone. So it's a lot like that. When I ended certain chapters, I was like, see, I want more, and I'm not going to get it. So that's really unfortunate. So that kind of brought it down a little bit in my point of view. So the next book that I went ahead and picked up is called The Unhoneymooners. It's kind of hard to say, by Christina Lauren. This is a romance book. Christina Lauren are 2 authors, and this book was fantastic. I love this book so much. It's my first Christina Lauren book. I loved it so much. It is about Olive and Ethan, and they hate each other. in the beginning of the book. And their brother, Ethan's brother and Olive's sister are getting married. In the very beginning of the book, it's their wedding day. And they all get food poisoning, like really bad food poisoning. But Olive's sister had won a honeymoon trip to Hawaii. And so the thing is, though, there's no refund. Well, I mean, she won it, so, there's no missing out in this aspect of, there's no way of like changing the date. So instead, the Ethan and Olive take their place, but they're expected to be married, right? So it's like pretend marriage, not pretend dating, but pretend marriage and hate to love relationship, all packed up in one book. So they go on their siblings' honeymoon, because, I mean, who passes up a free trip to Hawaii? Well, I mean, I don't know many people who do that, and they don't either, so they don't. And it is so great. It's so fantastic. I loved every single second of this book. It was 5-star rating for me easily, and I loved it a lot. And it's so cute. It's so cute. I loved it. I loved the book. So the next book that I'm going to talk about is called Hide. I don't own this book. It was an e-reader that I rented from my library. And it's by Kirsten White. And I read this book because of another book club pick. And I'm pretty sure I've already talked about this book and one of my most disappointing so far books. And because it's very disappointing. It's very, very boring book. It's about a bunch of characters who need money. All of them need money for separate reasons. They get all together because there's this contest, a hide and seek contest. And the last person to be found in this hide and seek, it's throughout multiple days. And whoever's supposed to be found last wins the contest. They were told it's going to be a reality show. Like, this is the first season and it's the first test. So they're like, they have a lot of things that they have to sign and all this other stuff. So once they get to it, they find out it's also a abandoned, broken down amusement park. So creep factors galore, right? Hide and seek. It comes to find out that people start disappearing. They're told that once you are found in the hide and seek that you're eliminated. And every day they're allowed to come back. They get like 12-hour breaks and, get their bearings again, then go back out there and hide. And then each night, once two people are found, that's the only two people that they're going to look for. They have to find the two people. So, and every time someone's found, that's it. They're packed up and they're gone. At least that's what they're told. And obviously that's not the case. That sounds fantastic. It sounds like a fantastic premise, and it wasn't. It was a bore fest. It was so boring. I gave it 2 stars because I did get through the whole thing. So I did finish this book, and there were maybe, like I said, the creep factor was starting to be there, and then it wasn't all of a sudden. And it was bad. And the way it was written, I didn't like. Like I said, I was reading through e-reader, and I would be like reading one paragraph, like this big, and it would be like 3 different point of views, and it doesn't like give any kind of indication when it switches from point of view to point of view. It's not good. House at the Bottom of the Lake. There you go. It is the same author who did Bird Box. I enjoyed this book for what it was. It's a little novella. I gave it 3 stars. This is another book there was really nothing wrong with the book. It's just I was expecting one thing and I got something else. So I was under the understanding that this book is a horror book, and I didn't feel like there was any horror in it. Not even a little. There's a little mystery in it, and there's a little bit of your hairs on the back of your neck kind of stand up now and then. But it's nothing that is terrifying in the slightest, at least not my point of view. It's about 2 characters, James and Amelia, who go on their first date, and he takes her on the lake, and then and he knows about this second lake that he takes her to that no one else knows about somehow. I don't know how. And they don't really explain that. And then they together find a third lake that obviously no one knows about. And while they're at that third lake, they find a house on the bottom of the lake, and it's all intact, and it's all set up like it wouldn't be on the bottom of the lake. which is very, very weird. So they do a lot of exploring on it. And that's about all I'm going to give you because, like I said, it's a very, very short book. And so like I said, it's not horror. So just if you go into this book, don't expect it to be a horror book, and you'll be good to go. I mean, don't get me wrong. It does have a little mystery. Obviously, that's mystery to it. I mean, the freaking house is on the bottom of the lake. Hello. But it's not scary. It's not like you're going to be like, okay, I got to keep my light on now because when I go to sleep because I can't sleep. It's not going to give you those kind of vibes. So just know that going in. So the next book that I'm going to discuss is One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus. So I auto-booked this. It came through my library. The hold came through, so I was like, well, time to listen to this book. And I'm so glad I listened to this book because, and let me tell you, if you've not read this book yet, if you're into YA, this should be, and you want to read this book, this should definitely be an Audible book. It's a full cast, so I always feel like for full casts, audiobooks are very entertaining. Even if the book's not that great, it's still very entertaining. But I enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. I might have ended up giving it 3 if it wasn't for the Audible experience. I'm not sure because I had the Audible experience, but I enjoyed it. In this book, there are 5 main characters, and then they are pretty much in detention. They're all in high school. It's kind of like almost like a setup, they feel like, because the reason why they all go into detention is for the exact same reason. And not only that, but it didn't, like, they all went to detention because one of the teachers found their phones. They're not supposed to have their cell phones out in any way, shape, or form, and they all got caught with a cell phone. But the weird thing is that the phones that they were caught with weren't theirs. So they're like, this is obviously a setup. So they ended up going to detention. None of them are really that good of friends. I think there's 2 of them that are friends, but the others are they're all different from different, little groups, little cliques, right? So they're all named something. So there's the brain, the beauty, the criminal, the athlete, and the outcast. So anyway, I really enjoyed this book. In the beginning of the book, like I said, they all go to detention, and another character dies, very mysterious death. And as you can see, one of us is lying because there were a lot of secrets, and each character has their own secrets that they don't want to be telling, and they don't want anyone to know about. So, and obviously, that's not going to happen. It's going to come out sooner or later. So you as the reader are finding out the secrets. You as the reader are finding out the outcome of those secrets. And obviously in the background, there's a whole murder whodunit situation in this book. And it's very, very good. And apparently there's a sequel called One of Us is Next. I've already got it. I do plan on reading that book as well. So after going through the Unhoneymooners, I wanted more. I wanted more of that kind of like hate to love or fake dating or any of that. I wanted more of it. And so I kind of did a little research to find something else. And I found the book called Shipt by Angie Hockman. And this says literally on the book, it is the Unhoneymooners and the Hating Game in one book. And so I have not read, or at the time that I read this book, spoiler, I read The Hating Game this month, for June. Anyway, by the time that I read this book, I had not read The Hating Game yet, but I did read The Unhoneymooners, and I just loved it. So I was like, okay, well, it can't go too far. And it was still good. I ended up giving it, though, 3 stars. And I gave it 3 stars. It's 3 stars for me is considered still a decent, good book. Okay? Don't get all pissy about that. I gave this book 3 stars, and the reason I gave it 3 stars is because it just felt like it really wasn't about the romance. Like I picked it up for a romance book, and romance is in there, but it's about these 2 people who are trying to they're both there's a Henley and Graham, and they're both going up for a promotion, the same promotion. Okay, they both want it, and they are kind of like publicity for this cruise line, and the main CEO guy's like, look, I really want you guys to go on a cruise, one of these cruise lines that you're going to promote. And I need you both to go and actually experience it yourself. And then I want you to sell me that cruise line, and then we'll go from there and see who gets the promotion. So they both go on the cruise line. Not like together. They don't like go as like a couple or anything, like there's no fake dating. But they don't like each other. It's like a hate to love again, which I enjoy that trope when it's done well. I enjoy it immensely. So that part was not the part. The problem for me, the reason why I didn't get more than 3 stars is because the work part of this book, their careers part of this book, is pretty much 3/4 of this book, in my opinion. And when they do start falling in love and all that stuff, it's just so boring, kind of, because they're still talking about their careers. And even in the ending of this book, instead of like, and they lived happily ever after, it's more like, and they both love their jobs. Like, I thought it was reading romance. It's more of a chick lit book. So I'm not the biggest fan of chick lit, like 100% chick lit. Like if there's a little bit in there, that's fine. But I was looking for like hate to love, fall in love book. And instead I got, there's this guy and there's this girl, and they're gonna go for the same kind of job. And then they're gonna fall in love, by the way. It was okay. It wasn't the greatest. Although I do like Graham. I think he's great. I love him. I'm not a big fan of Henley. She wasn't anything special in my mind, but I did like Graham. He was fun to read on. He was cute. So I'm going to talk about 3 other books. I don't have them. I read them through an e-reader, I guess you could call it. I guess it's manga, and it's Spy X Family, and I finished what is available to me book-wise. So that would be 7, 8, and 9. If you don't know anything about Spy X Family, it is about a gentleman who is completely single and detached, and he is a spy, and he is fantastic at his job. He is the best of the best of the best. And he is told that he needs to get to a certain target, and the only way to get to that target is through this school. His boss is like, I need you to go out and get yourself a kid. So he goes out and gets himself a kid, this little girl. She happens to be able to read minds. She does not tell him that she can read minds because she thinks it's going to freak out anybody. And she's been going from home to home to home to home to home. And she's tired of it, and she wants a family. And so she's like, okay, I'm going to keep that a secret. I'm not going to tell anybody about it. She's so cute. She's so adorable. Oh, she's so cute. Terry, put a little picture of her up here. So cute. Anyway, she gets adopted by him, and then he realizes when he's about to go do the interviews for this school that she's about to go to, it's a private school, he realizes he needs a wife, that it needs to be a picture perfect looking family. So what does he do? He goes out and he tries to find himself a wife, because he doesn't have one of those either. And he just happens to, and it's all circumstance, of course, but it's too much fun for it for you to care as a reader, I promise. He finds his wife because she just happens to be the most fantastic assassin that ever lived. She's fantastic, but she's starting to become in question because she's not married and she doesn't have kids, and you're just weird now. What's happening? Why are you like this? Who are you really, chickadee? And so she's like, crap, I can't have this suspicion. So she needs a husband. Bam! Does he tell her that he's a spy? No. Does she tell him that she is an assassin? No. So everyone doesn't know about anybody else except for the little girl, because she can read minds. And it is a fantastic series so far. I love it so much, and I have not given a volume less than 4 stars. I gave 7 a 4-star. I gave 8 and 9 5 stars. And it's so good. And I cannot highly recommend it more than I am doing right now. If you like manga at all, or if you're even considering getting into manga, read this manga. Okay, so the next book that I picked up is called The Name of the Wind. It's a fantasy book, high fantasy, and it's supposed to be a trilogy. The only first 2 books are out, The Name of the Wind and Wise Man's Fear. So far, I've only read The Name of the Wind. I do plan on finishing this series if the third one ever does come out, who knows? By the fact that this book came out so long ago, I think it was like 2011, 2012, it's kind of worrisome to me that it's just going to be like almost like Game of Thrones. Like, I'm going to really enjoy these two books, and then I'm going to be itching to get the last one. We'll see, though. Anyway, The Name of the Wind is by Patrick Rufus. This book got 4 stars from me, and I enjoyed it immensely. It is, but the thing is I was a little annoyed about this far in. Okay, I got really annoyed really fast, and the reason why is because about this much into the book is a whole different book entirely. Okay, so the book starts out with all these characters in a bar, and they're all like friends, and they're all getting along, and they're all chit-chatting, having a good time, and they're all, you're starting to really like these characters, right? And then all of a sudden another character comes in, he's part of the little gang, the little group, and he is talking about a monster or a demon that he just, came across, and holy crap, and it was unkillable, and this sucks. One of the bartender, the guy that owns the place, goes and takes care of business behind everyone's back, and then he's like cleaning up the next day. He's cleaning up glasses, getting ready to open for the day, and a guy comes in and was like, "I know who you really are. I know who you are, and you're not this guy. So let's talk." And the bartender's like, "Don't do this to me." The guy ends up being this. Like almost like superstar for our kind of generation, right? He ends up being like this big deal kind of a guy named Koth, and who everyone has heard of and knows about, and all of a sudden is no longer. No one knows what happened to the man, but they just know that he's not famous anymore. He's not around anymore. He has apparently a huge story behind his name, and the guy's like, "I know that's you," and the guy's like, "You know what? It is me, but you need to keep that to yourself. And I'll tell you my story, and it's going to take 3 days." 3 books. So all that stuff before, with all those characters that I started liking, certain ones, and so forth and so on, doesn't matter. Because they don't come back up again until the very, very end of the book again. And all I knew is this is a very loved fantasy book. A lot of people really, really enjoy this book, and so that was enough for me. So if I had known going in that this was about one man's story, then I would have known that. I should have known that, and then probably would have enjoyed it a lot more so than I did. I really liked the main character. I've read a lot of reviews of people saying that he's not likable, but I liked him. I thought he was a great guy. I didn't have any problems with him, and I enjoyed his story. So far, the story that you get to know is his childhood and his teenage years, and I think a little bit of what you consider college age. And so that's what you've got from the first book. And I enjoyed it immensely. There's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of goodness, there's a lot of adventure, there's a lot of on your edge, seat, nail biting moments. It's a good book. It's a very good start, that's for dang sure. And I will be going on with the series. So the next book, and if you were just listening earlier about my whole spoiler alert, then you would know that the next book is called The Hating Game, that I read by Sally Thorne. And again, I loved this book. I loved it. I really don't know which one I loved more, the Unhoneymooners or The Hating Game. I think the Unhoneymooners, and the only reason I like the Unhoneymooners a little bit more is because I really do like that whole fake dating situation, especially when it comes to hate to love. I loved it even more. And this is a hate to love, but there's no fake dating. I don't even know you call it fake dating. By the time you get to a certain part of the book, they already kind of have feelings for each other. So there's already a little bit of a romance budding there. And so I wouldn't really call that fake dating, but there is hate to love, and it does it very, very well. And there was even little cheesy parts towards the end of the book, but the book is so good. And the couple, Lucy and Joshua, they are just so cute that the cheesy parts of the very end of the book, you don't care. It just makes it even more cute. Okay. They is a work situation, again, just like Shipt. They are both going for the same promotion, and they work literally right across from each other. Their desks are right across from each other. They work for a publisher, company, and there is a new CEO position that's going to be created, and so one of them wants it. So obviously they've hated each other. Like originally, apparently there was two published companies and they merged together to like save each other. And one is like the quirky kind of publisher company, and the other is very serious and strict and all about how much money can we get out of this book. And then the other one's like, what kind of story are you giving me, kind of a situation. And putting them together makes sense because you need to worry about how much money and you need to worry about if it's a good story, right? So putting the two companies together is a good idea, but it's two different kinds of personalities. And it's just, it was so cute. It was so perfect. Loved it. 5 stars easily, no problem. So the next book that I'm going to talk about is a book that I did not enjoy reading, and that's called There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. And I should have known that I wasn't going to really enjoy this book because it's not highly rated at all on Goodreads. And actually on the back of the book, I'm just now realizing this, is Anna and the French Kiss, is the same author who wrote that book. And I have not read that book, but it's a romance book. And not only that, but what I've read on what the book is about does not sound like at all like something I would ever want to read. Because of that, I should have known not to really look forward to reading this book. I thought it was going to become almost like a haunting kind of a book, or I mean, even a murdering in people's houses books. At first, I was like, oh, maybe I will like this book, because in the very beginning of this book, the murdering that does happen in this book is very creepy and very good. It's done very well. And then it sucks really fast, really, really quickly, like halfway through the book. Anyway, it's about McKenna, and she has friends. She goes to high school, and she has, not friends, she has people in her grade level who are getting picked off one by one, who are getting killed left and right, all over the place. And she obviously it's very scary. It's a very small town, very tiny town, and obviously a very tiny high school. So therefore, she knows all these people who are getting killed off, and it's a very scary situation. And so it's about her and a few other people. Some of them are her friends. 2 of them are her friends. Another one is a love interest, and there's a few others. Character-wise on the sidelines, like I said, getting picked off one by one. So, and they don't have really any kind of connection with each other. They don't run in the same circles or anything for that matter. So, she's trying to figure things out and not get killed themselves. And about halfway through the book, it tells you who the killer is. You find out. I mean, you still have literally half of the book left after that. Once that happens, once you've figured out who the killer is, or once you're told who the killer is, the killer situation, the killings, the creepiness, all of that goes away. All that just falls to the wayside. The romance in this book is pushed to the nth degree, so a horror / slasher book should not have that situation. In my point of view, it should not have that much romance in the book. That shouldn't be the main plot point, which it really kind of is. And the killings get really, really just sporadic all over the place, and there's no, not really any rhyme or reason to it, and it gets really messy really, really quick, and it's just not entertaining anymore, and the creep factor it's gone. Read the book. Read halfway. Once you find out who the killer is, once you're told who the killer is, stop reading it and go, the end. Because the reasoning for the killing and the killer's thought process is bullshit. It's crap. And it doesn't make any sense. And it's nonsense. It's all a bunch of nonsense. And it will piss you off. Read half this book and get rid of the rest. Okay? Come up with your own ending. I bet it will be better than the one that you read. 2 stars. In case I didn't tell you that. It's 2 stars. And again, I would have gotten only 1 star, but I did finish it. So I'm going to give it to you. Last and not least is Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen. I am trying to read at least 5 classics this year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but for me, that is a lot. This will be my 3rd classic this year. And this will be, I think, my 4th or 3rd Jane Austen book. And I'm thinking that I'm not a Jane Austen fan. I haven't read Sense and Sensibility, so I probably will read that one before I give up entirely. But I have read Emma, and I have read Northanger Abbey. I did enjoy Northanger Abbey more so than the other two. Pride and Prejudice, I did enjoy that. Emma was the worst of the three that I have of these that I have read. I did give this book a 3.5-star rating. But I rated it 3 stars on Goodreads. I didn't push it up to a 4. I've read multiple classics. I've read Dorian Gray. I've done The Count Monte Cristo and Little Women. I've read Gone with the Wind. I've read classics, okay? I love those classics. I'm not a fan of Jane Austen, and I think it's because it's kind of like almost like a soap opera written, you know, in that time period. What a soap opera would be. This is like a drama-filled time period book, okay? The things that I did like about this book,
5 minutes later.
Obviously are Jane's points of the fact that the main character, Elizabeth, I liked her. I liked her father a lot. Her father was very, very cheeky. Anytime he was on the Mr. Bennet, anytime that he was on the page, I knew I was going to like giggle a little bit. I liked him a lot. He's a side character though, so, you know, I don't get too much of him. I hated her mother, Mrs. Bennet. I hated her. Like, she just annoyed the crap out of me because she's from her situation, her thought process, her growth is from that time period. All that matters is as long as the women get married, that's all they need to worry about, right? Is who they're going to get married to and how much money does that man have. And that's all she cares about. Her daughter is getting married, and that's all she talks about. And it's just. And then I did like Darcy. I liked Mr. Darcy too. I liked Elizabeth. I liked Mr. Darcy for different reasons. And I really liked Elizabeth. I liked her thought process. I liked when she gets marriage proposals and the way she has to deal with that. That was great. That was funny. There were good parts of this book, but a lot of it is just because of it's that time period, right? And then they are, you know, going to parties, and then they just, you know, gossip. And then they go and they sit in someone's living room and it's gossip. And that's just not fun for me. I don't care about gossip, and I don't care about drama, and I don't care about soap operas. And that's kind of what this is. And it's kind of what most of her, at least what I've read so far, most of her books are. I do have the book Sense and Sensibility. I will be reading that. I don't know if it will be this year, but I will be reading that because I feel like that's another big Jane Austen book. Pride and Prejudice is obviously her main book that everyone's just like, you gotta read it. And I did. I gave it 3 stars. It was just okay. I know it's a very well-loved book, but I've read better classics that has a lot more happening into it. I need plot. Plot is a big deal for me. And if the plot is a lot of talking and not a lot of anything else happening, just sitting around having tea parties and chit-chatting, then it's not going to be much of a book, in my opinion. But there are good characters in this book, and there are good, funny situations that do happen in this book that do make you laugh. So I will give it its due diligence, and I'm giving it a 3.5 star. That's my final rating. Yep. And that is my final book. And so I don't know how long this video is. I'm sure it's very long, and I'm very sorry about that. If you're not a big fan of big, long books, you know, maybe you can break this down. Anyway, but I had a good month, and I'm hoping that July is just as good. And I will talk to you guys about that one as well. So see you guys later. Bye.